just didn't have no feeling. I was shocked. Absolutely. I did everything right. I couldn't believe no way could I have lost that fight. That's boxing for you. Politics and money.
The next day, the press was just outrageous. Some of our most respected newspaper boxing columnists just called it an absolute crying shame and a disgrace. And that's when things got really interesting for Michael Watson.
Headlines screamed of the injustice. Polls declared Watson the winner, and the public condemned the decision. That Chris Eubank, ever controversial, dared anyone to challenge his right to the belt.
I just want to show Michael Watson that this belt belongs to me. It's mine, and it's going to continue. Thank you. I'm going to continue to hold this championship for as long as I possibly can, and the likes of Michael Watson will not take my title.
Eubank was now aggrieved. Because whether you like it or not, Eubank can talk about how much money he likes to make, but he also wants that respect from the people. That respect wasn't there for Chris Eubank, and he knew it. The people liked Michael Watson. The people thought that Michael Watson had won that fight.
To win a championship, you have to take it. Michael didn't take it. And so the judges threw it my way and gave me the decision. The country went up in arms, and the rematch was set.
The biggest super middleweight title fight Britain had ever seen was set for 21st of September 1991, and the two boxers began their preparation.
He lives like a monk. He trains, he'll do his road work in the morning, he'll do 5-6 miles, he'll go to the gym in the afternoon, he'll do all his training, and then he'll do his sparring as well. So where a man that gets up in the morning and goes to work and does 8 hours, comes home and all the rest of it, a fighter is doing that just the same. That's his job.
You've got to be fully prepared. You know, it's a dangerous sport, and you've got to make sure every time you step into that ring physically, you know, you're at the peak of your condition.
If he was 100% focused the first time, he became 120% focused, and there was no stopping him. In his eyes, you could see the passion in his eyes.
He was trying a lot harder for the fight. A lot harder.
I have never come across anyone with his determination and his self-belief that he will do it, and there's nothing coming between him and victory.
Mentally and physically, it was a complete sacrifice. I closed myself away from the public. Complete meditation on Chris Eubank.
Michael emerges from his training to face Chris Eubank at the press conference for the first time since their controversial fight.
Looks like being a cracking affair.
Michael couldn't even take his eyes off Eubank. I can remember trying to talk to him, and all he was doing was looking at Eubank. Eubank was angry and would barely pose with Michael in the car park. They were like two magnets, the opposite ends, trying to get closer. They just couldn't do it. They got to within maybe 18 inches, and you could sense the electricity. It would have been hot if you put your arm down the middle between their backs. And that was 3 or 4 days before the fight. And I realised then that this really was an outrageously personal fight. This was genuine. He didn't like that guy. He wanted what that guy had taken from him. He wanted that title. It's no good being the people's champion. Michael wanted to be a champion.
It was fierce. It was ugly. I became the stigma that they said I was. I became the villain. I felt I was the villain. You know, there was no way, you know, I should lose this fight. Because if I did, then I would be cast as the character that they had seen, or that the media had pushed, and that wouldn't be right.
11 stone, 13 pounds.
I will win. You know, I'm a winner, and I've proven that many times. I'm a winner outside, and I'm a winner inside, and that's all that matters.
So I thought of Chris Eubank, his image was completely penciled within my thoughts. I just couldn't get him out of my mind. It was haunting me. Just had to beat him to get him out of my system. No way will he be doing that to me again. You know, this time, this one was for real.
22,000 fight fans and stars packed the White Hart Lane Stadium to witness the fight of the decade.
You know, we used Mama Said Knock You Out because that just really summed up the raw energy of what Michael was about to do in that ring, the excitement of like the people's champion entering that ring. Everyone would be screaming his name. You know, he was the greatest.
He used a record by LL Cool J called Mama Says Knock You Out. And that, and I don't think he had ever used that before. And, you know, added pressure? You know, how about another half a ton?
Just getting bombed. Chance of Michael.
You can do anything, but you're not knocking me out. I had to walk out of that ring. At least I knew that intrinsically. But actually, in the fight, that became the whole point. Just walk out on your feet. You're going to walk out a loser, but walk out at least on your feet. To be battered, I mean, literally battered. I was outboxed, out-thought. I was out-fought, outmaneuvered, out-strength.
Right to the body then a left to the head, does Watson.
I can remember it at the time thinking it was like those Rocky sequences. You know, when you see a bit of action and then Mickey's in the corner cutting his eye. It was just like that. It was being played out like a film in front of us.
Oh, good right from Watson. And now Eubank is in a bit of trouble on the ropes. And he wants to cover up. He's caught. Oh, and he's staggered by a right, is Eubank. He regains his senses, but his senses were scrambled, and he's hit by another right from Watson, and another one, and he's down! Eubank is down!
He's on the floor, there's 20 seconds to go in the 11th round, and 20,000 people are going absolutely ballistic. You have to understand this. And Michael's in the corner, and he's breathing up, and you can just see he's glaring. He has never been in this situation before. There's 17 million people watching on TV. You can hear the shrieks of the BBC radio people and the ITV commentators. It's like nothing you've ever seen before. And then we go into serious slow motion.
He gets up again. What a turnaround in this 11th round. He spits out blood. He was up at about 3. And he scores with the right uppercut and puts Watson down. My goodness me.
Eubank throws one shot, and then time stands still. Michael's heels stay on the floor, and his 2 feet come up. He comes forward, and the shock and the power of the punch, the perfect right uppercut to his chin, pulls his feet off the ground slowly, and he just goes down straight. And he catches the back of his neck on the rope.
Michael made it back to his corner. All he had to do was make it through the last round, and the world title would be his.
Michael was sitting there, he was replying to questions. They were working feverishly just to get him alert, to get him, you know, to get him all fired up, to get as much water on him as possible. And then he stands up, and the bell goes. I knew then that there was something wrong.
When he came out to touch gloves for the 12th round, that wasn't him. That wasn't Michael. He's not there. From there, he wasn't boxing at all. He was fatally hurt from the 11th round when he was on the rope. He should not have come out for the 12th round.
I spoke to Michael. I said, shake hands. He said no, but we touched gloves. And then they started boxing, and then Michael backed into the corner when I believe he was stuck on the 2nd rope at that time. And Chris was throwing everything at him, and that's when I knew something was wrong, and that's when I stopped it.
Well, I've been through the stage with Nigel. All I've got to do is weather the storm. I'm the champion last round. Couldn't believe my referee stepped into the fight. He wouldn't hurt to me.
It doesn't matter what Eubank had done in that round. If he'd have come out and tickled Michael's nose with a feather, the damage was done at that point, and nobody could have known that. Nobody at all.
He didn't put me down, did he? He was the only one I went back to the rope, then I collapsed. Then I sat down and I couldn't believe what happened. It's a shock of it all. I just fainted. Just collapsed. Discouragement. I felt frail after everything I've done. They're just taking the belt away from me.
That, you know, Michael was not going to stop that fight. And when he went down on the floor, like, we all had to get into the ring to make sure he was okay. But when he was down and out like that, it was obvious something was very, very wrong.